Standard 1 content knowledge should demonstrate the knowledge necessary to create, use, assess, and manage theoretical and practical applications of educational technologies and processes. In EdTech 502, I was able to create a virtual field trip in which students would be guided through a lesson creating a digital learning environment. I developed the site entitled, "Where in the World Are the Israelites Headed?" In line with Standard 1, this activity was designed to guide students along the journey of Moses and the Israelite men and women who followed. Using a variety of approaches, students would learn about the events that took place at multiple locations. These approaches included video clips, online digital scripture references, and a worksheet created and intended to guide students through their learning experience. Additionally, in EdTech 502, I created a web quest which allowed students to demonstrate the use of technological resources in the form of a process. Here students were able to go through this learning process working together, using the provided linked resources to study the plagues of Egypt as found in the scriptures. The project fit Standard 1 as the site was created for students to use the provided charts, links, and downloadable resources to enhance their learning process. In EdTech 505, I demonstrated my ability to assess and evaluate appropriate technologies in my evaluation report. This was a project that helped me assess the effectiveness of teaching methods as I focused on teaching a pre-selected doctrine to my classes. The evaluation was primarily focused on the topic of marriage and family. Throughout the report, I compared pre-test and post-test results and evaluated a survey given to 3 classes. The purpose of this evaluation was to determine if the objective set by LDS seminaries and institutes was effective, useful, or if changes and adjustments needed to be made. For standard number 2, content pedagogy, my examples will demonstrate effective implementation of educational technologies and processes based on contemporary content and pedagogy. In EdTech 541, I created an Internet-enriched lesson, which demonstrated my ability to incorporate appropriate educational technologies to better study and understand content. Essentially, I created a web quest specifically designed to help students become more familiar with the lessons found in 2 Samuel 11. My intent was to help students understand important gospel lessons and lead students to application in their own personal lives. It was designed to be both entertaining as well as spiritual and instructional while incorporating appropriate technology. Students were provided with a link which allowed them to either read or listen to this chapter. Students were then asked to create a news headline to catch people's attention based on their study. And finally, students were to create and take a quiz using a free web-based quiz tool. In EdTech 502, I created a jigsaw activity which demonstrates an inquiry process to evaluate learning. The purpose was to provide students with appropriate tools and technological resources to connect stories found in the book of Genesis to their own lives, demonstrating reflective practices. Students were provided with the digital tools in each group, including links to digital scriptures, student guides, and online resources, and questions to allow problem solving in connection with real-world problems or concerns. At the end of the lesson, students would become the experts on the subject and would be able to answer selected questions, including doctrinal truths, context and content information, and modern-day applicational principles. And finally, in EdTech 501, I created a digital divide presentation using Google Slides, presenting what it is, why it matters, and possible solutions to bridge the gap as part of a process to emphasize diversity, equality, and awareness in our community. Standard number 3, learning environments, should involve artifacts which facilitate learning by creating, using, evaluating, and managing effective learning environments. In my EdTech 503, I had an opportunity to create an instructional design project entitled Using the LDS Gospel Library App with Purpose. The goal of this project was to help teachers and students see the full capabilities the LDS Gospel Library app has and show how purposeful technology can be used within a classroom. As part of this goal, students would be able to learn and operate 8 functions this app has to better study the scriptures. The process and analysis of the subject matter is to help students who are currently using this app to learn to use it with purpose and provide them with future benefits. It's also geared to those who are not familiar with the tools provided in the app to then be motivated to use them beneficially throughout their life. By incorporating these 8 techniques and tools, learners' study of gospel principles in the biblical scriptures will be more personal and meaningful, and their gospel knowledge will be deepened as a natural consequence throughout their life. In EdTech 541, I created a social networking lesson which allowed students to utilize free web-accessible technology and resources to interact and communicate with each other, including Skype, VoiceThread, Facebook, and other learning tools. The lesson goal for this project was to help learners better understand the books of the minor prophets in the Old Testament. Also, improve learning by allowing students to teach each other using these technologies, and also establish performance as they apply these principles into their lives. This is a 3-day lesson designed to allow students to establish deeper learning through use of technology. And finally, the Adaptive and Assistive Technology Project for EdTech 541 was a Google Slideshow presentation I created to assist and provide LDS seminary students with a variety of educational resources that would make learning more accessible and unify the learning community with those who experience disabilities. Standard number 4, professional knowledge and skills. Incorporate artifacts which design, develop, implement, and evaluate technology-rich learning environments within a supportive community of practice. In EdTech 503, I had the opportunity to work with my peers and lead them through a case study using VoiceThread. In this project, I was able to work directly with a group of 4 of my peers and prepare with them different case studies, including possible applications to share with the rest of the class. This incorporated study, design, development, community problem solving with a great outcome. As stressful as the project was in the beginning, I really enjoyed how it turned out. In EdTech 502, I created a netiquette web page to teach students how to demonstrate ethical behavior in a digital learning environment. I have compiled a list of guidelines for proper etiquette on the internet. This is intended for anyone using the internet, but primarily for those communicating with each other. The intended outcome of this web page is to help students to have a basic understanding of netiquette and help them to learn to interact well with users from around the world. I kept a learning log in most of my classes in the EdTech program, but the one that I felt helped the most was created in EdTech 541. Often we were asked to write about what we did and what we learned because of the artifacts that we created. I find that I grow the most as I reflect on those experiences that I've had. Creating is one thing, but reflecting on those experiences for me is really that glue that holds it together. Effectiveness of the artifacts are never as strong without analyzing and pondering and really reflecting on the work that we have created. Standard number 5, research. Demonstrates artifacts which demonstrate exploration, evaluation, and apply methods of inquiry that enhance learning and establishes improvement in performance. In EdTech 504, I created an annotated bibliography on selected research of the evolution of educational technology. I chose to explore the behavioral science in connection with positive and negative changes that are associated with educational technology. My intent was to look at the projected outcomes of a variety of learning theories while maintaining a general focus of the evolution we see today based on transformation of the past and connecting those changes to the future of educational technology. In my studies, I proved that there should be multiple approaches throughout the teaching and learning process within a classroom. I also wrote a synthesis paper on constructivism theories in EdTech 504. I was able to research methods comparing and contrasting ideas from both the constructivism and connectivism theories. The intent was to visit these theories and discover appropriate ideas, methods, and techniques through educational technology that would enhance teaching and learning in the digital age. I provided examples to help deepen understanding and discuss principles that would need to be implemented to develop an effective learning process with emerging technologies. In EdTech 505, I demonstrated my ability to assess and evaluate appropriate technologies in my evaluation report. This was a project that helped me assess the effectiveness of teaching methods as I focused on teaching a pre-selected doctrine to my classes. The evaluation was primarily focused on the topic of marriage and family. Throughout the report, I compared pre-test and post-test results and evaluated a survey given to 3 classes. The purpose of this evaluation was to determine if the objective set by LDS seminaries and institutes was effective, useful, or if changes and adjustments needed to be made.